What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here from DFS Army, and this is your NFL Week 9 DraftKings Week in Review. We're going to look at the Milly Maker. We're going to look at cash lineups. We're going to look at DFS Army tools, see how we could have crushed the week. Maybe we did crush the week. Hopefully you did. Let's get right into it. All right, so it is the week in review. We're looking at NFL Week 9. And before, I love doing the Milly Maker breakdown, and we're going to replicate, hopefully, we're going to try to figure out how to make the Milly Maker lineup, how to replicate it using the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer this past week. We're going to take a look at how the build looked. And like I said, I've been saying this the last couple weeks on the show. I've observed some things, and, we kind of are going back to, what we didn't see all of last year. Maybe last year was a little bit of, let's call it, variance of a season, but we are kind of back with heavy stacks or medium level stacks seems to be winning the day lately. And a lot of that is just a couple teams that are really popping off right now in DFS. We'll get into all that, but let's start with the cash game review. And the lineup I have on screen, I wanted to show you this contest I was in because this was the like whoever's using whatever optimizer this is, there's a lot of people who use it and they all tie every single week. This is sort of the same group that I always see, and they're sort of the generic, I'm calling this the generic cash lineup. So if you hit this 161.62 number this week, you pretty much cashed in most of your cash lineups, or you tied because it was such a generic line. It was copied so many times that it was difficult to actually do much with it. And again, part of the reason why I tell you guys always hang in the $1, $2, and $3 games, stay away from the $5 and up, is because you have these groups of people that are all kind of using a pretty good optimizer that gives you a pretty decent lineup each week. Of course, not as good as the Domination Station from DFS Army, which I will show you in a moment, but still not a bad optimizer they're using. And so you need about a 161.62. Now, I'm going to pop over to, there's a few different methods we have over DFS Army for coming up with cash lineups. One of my favorite tools is our chalkboard, and this will kind of get you on some of the right players. And we can see here, this week was pretty obvious, or some of the spots were pretty obvious. Travis Etienne and Ramondre Stevenson were the chalk. Josh Palmer, of course, 77% owned. If you look at the ownerships of some of these names, you can see that they're very high owned, and Justin Fields at the quarterback position. This week, we talked about it in DFS Army, and of course, in the Cash article, that there were only two QBs to choose from this week in cash games. One was Josh Allen, and the other one was Justin Fields. You either went high or low. I really like the Justin Fields approach. That's what I did with my cash lineup, but you could see that there were two ways to go. And that was covered, of course, in our cash game breakdown this past week. So obviously, pretty easy to land on something like this. Now, what I wanted to show you was what would happen if we just kind of used the Domination Station Optimizer. And I just want to make sure that it's very clear that, we are set to the default settings that we kind of went into the slate with this week. So these are the default. I hit reset settings. So we have all our generic numbers in here. And what I have is we are in backtest mode on the Domination Station from DFS Army. And you can see here backtest. And we're looking at this week's slate. So let's just take a look at what the top optimal did. And then I'm going to show you a little variant on the top optimal that I used that I think was helpful. So if we just click optimize here and just kind of see what pops up. Top optimal here did use Josh Allen with Stevenson, Etienne, and Joe Mixon. Our optimizer absolutely loved Joe Mixon. Jesus took the wheel this week and led to big money. So, this lineup produced a 180.2, which was easy enough. Basically, this is free money every week. We do this Milly Maker review every single week, and I don't know what more to tell you guys. I really don't. This is the final fantasy points, 180.2. That is just what the top optimal was. We were all over Josh Palmer. These guys were all in the cash article as your best cash plays. We had Buccaneers as one of the two top defenses to go. It's all spelled out every single week for DFS Army subscribers. So I'll pull it up here just to quickly bring up the cash pool article of the week. And as you could see, it was Allen or Fields. It was Eckler, Etienne, Stevenson. But of course, the optimizer was popping Mixon in there. Your wide receiver grouping, Palmer, Khalif Raymond. You see Bucks, Panthers. All of this is spelled out right here in the Milly Maker article we put out every Saturday by the man, Cash Keg himself. The guy's name is Cash Keg. He's good at cash. But even just working with the Dom station got you a 180.2. But here's what I did. And what I really liked this week, because I preferred paying down at quarterback for Fields. Obviously, we've been on Fields for the past 4 weeks. If you watched my first look this past week, I was on Fields in the first look lineups for week 9 as well. And a lot of you guys are watching those. So fucking crushed it. Thank you very much. Hit that on Monday, Tuesday. Stayed on Fields. Could not believe the field didn't get on Fields because they're not that good at DFS. So thank goodness for that. We still have people playing Aaron Rodgers, S. Chalk, and Derek Carr. Love that, right? But here's what I did. I just hit the lock button on Fields, and let's see what lineup it produces for me with just Fields locked in there. And there we go. The top optimal hits a 201.22. This was not only good enough to win all of your cash games, this was good enough to cash in every single tournament and win quite a few tournaments as well. So once again, the optimizer on point, the projection models on point. Joe Mixon in every lineup that we made. It was crazy. It was awesome. We were all over Fields. So a really, really good week for cash and just your 3-max style builds where, like I said, when the top optimal is pretty much hitting the 201 on a week where that was enough, not just to cash, but to take down some tournaments. That's pretty freaking good. All right. But we're all here to see how to win $1 million. So let's take a look at the Milly Maker this week. This is the Draftkings Milly Maker contest. 3.5 million in entries, 1 million to first. And congratulations to Sears 175, lineup number 32. So a mass multi-entry guy, which makes sense, by the way, looking at this lineup for taking down the million. That is amazing. You are part of an elite group of people, right? And this Milly Maker winner, 268.12 fantasy points. But let's take a look at this lineup. The thing that interests me the most here is actually, the funny thing is you can achieve a better lineup than this, which is crazy. That's one, because you could have Etienne instead of Stevenson. But the second thing is $4,100 most expensive defense on the board, part of the nuts. That is pretty impressive stuff. The other thing that fascinates me about this one, as you take a look at this lineup, is that we have a Fields +2 with a bring back. So this is a little bit unusual. Most people, when they're playing Justin Fields, they do not play him and force 2 pass catchers, but Sears did that. And so you see Justin Fields with Mooney, Cole Kmet, who nobody played, 1.4%. I did not have Cole Kmet in my player pool, but Mooney was one of my favorite plays this week, alongside, of course, Palmer. And I did like Kirk as well. So a lot of plays just were kind of chalky. Tyreek Hill and the rest of the chalk here. But going with low-owned Cole Kmet really was a major difference maker. And I also want to call out, the fact that Fields wound up 14% owned. Super different from a lot of the ownership projections that went around this week. So ownership projections, got to take maybe take a raise an eyebrow at them because they've been off. Little eyebrow raise. But so looking at this lineup, in order to replicate it, really shouldn't be too difficult. This is a Fields with 2 and a bring back. So let's go to the domination station optimizer. And of course, the Patriots defense, my goodness, right? They were a great play, in the sense that it was a great spot for them going up against a rookie who looked like a disaster. And of course, Frank Reich now fired. But $4,100 to play a $4,100 defense is pretty bananas. So let's go to the domination station and let's set the rule that would allow this type of lineup to be created. And we're going to go legacy stacking here. We're going to stack QB with no less than 2 wide receiver, tight end, same team, and 1 wide receiver, tight end, opposing team. We'll create a simple rule. Okay. Now we're going to make 20 lineups, or let's make, I did 25% Fields this week. So I'm going to replicate as if we're doing 25% of 150. So we'll do 30 lineups. 30, 25%, 25 plus another 12. Let's call it 35 lineups. And I'm going to lock fields in these because there's no real point in doing a full run right now. I can do that separately on a full back test, which is something we do at DFS Army every week. And I recommend everybody who's watching this, if you're subscribed to DFS Army and you have access to this tool, that you're back testing every week. I want you to, when you're doing your back testing, I want you to back test as if you're running a full slate, not just one quarterback, the way that you would run normally. So your 5 or 6 QBs if you're making 150, or your 1 or 2 QBs if you're making 20 lineups, and your rules and all of that in place. So when you're back testing, don't essentially cheat at all by just using the one quarterback. You want to use all of them. But in this case, for the purpose of speed, and because we're doing this sort of in real time, I'm just going to focus on Fields. Fields was, again, a focal point QB for me this week anyway. So right off the bat, I'm just going to run 30 and see what happens, right? I just want to see, with raw projections in place, without any changes or anything like that, I just want to see what happens, what my exposure. I have a feeling I'll get a ton of mix-in because the optimizer love mix-in. Obviously, we're going to load up on Fields. And let's see if we get any Cole Kmet. That's the one I kind of want to see if he pops in there. He does not. So who is the second? Did I forget to lock Fields? Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, I didn't lock Fields. So let's see what quarterbacks actually we got with a raw run. And went primarily to Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers. Had to work it. Oh, that's because I made a rule. Yeah, all right. Had to work it. Got a lot of mixed-in. Little ATN, 100% Ramondre. And let's see what happened here. So our highest scoring lineup was a 201, and that is a Geno Smith lineup. Imagine that. With Noah Fant, of course. But we want to just do Geno. So I'm going to click the lock button on Geno, and we're going to run that again, and I want to see what happens. I want to see if it picks up Cole Kmet in the Fields +2 with the bring back. And then, of course, we want to make sure we're getting a lot of Tyreek Hill and all of these other names. But let's see. Nope, this one also only got us a 201. Let's see if we... Yeah. Oh, Geno. Oh, oops. I wanted Fields, not Geno. Come on, man. All right, here we go. Let's run it again. This time I was like, wow, same score. What the hell? So here we go. We're running all Fields lineups, and let's see what it gets us. 237. So on our first run, very simple run, no adjustments to the optimizer whatsoever, nothing. Just a Geno, just a Fields +2 with a bring back. Yeah, we got Cole Kmet in there. We got Darnell Mooney in there. We got Tyreek Hill in there. Justin Fields, Ramondre, Etienne, Godwin, mix-in Buccaneers. Okay. All right. We got pretty close. Let's see what this run. This was no adjustments. Let's just see what this run, this 237, would have done in the Milly Maker. I don't assume it's very good, but yeah, okay. Top 100. Looks like our first run got us about, yeah, top 75. Not too bad. One thing we didn't do with this run, there's a couple things I like to do. First is I like to do 3 uniques. So let's give it a second run with multiple uniques. I want to see if the number goes up or down. And then always going to set the tight end to 0. I don't think that's relevant here, but we'll give it a second run with 3 uniques. And then I'm going to make a couple of player adjustments that I think will get us where we need to go. But of course, I want to kind of start here and just see what happens if we throw in a little bit more variance by adding uniques to the mix here. And we did not really, 237.92. So we're still in the same general vicinity with this lineup. 237, 192 out. It does skip down quite a bit. So again, we've got Fields, and let's see what we're getting here. 100% Ramondre. That's a problem. Tyreek Hill, almost exclusively in these lineups. Okay, that's fine. Amon-Ra. All right. Tight end, tons of Cole Kmet, which is basically untenable, right? We're not going to really do that if we're making 150, but if he's in a lot of our Justin Fields lineups, that's fine. So I wouldn't have allowed that much Cole Kmet on a normal run. I'm going to fix that a little bit here. I'm going to fix it by setting a max on Cole Kmet of, let's say, 40%, because that's all I want in my Fields lineups. About 40% Cole Kmet. I don't think I would have run a lot of lineups using the Fields with 2. I would have done Fields with 1. And, I just never would do Fields with 2. I know me, and I definitely don't love Cole Kmet, so I would not have been all over this. But there is one area that you really need to target in order to hit this nuts lineup, and that is having Patriots defense. So I'm going to give a little bump to Patriots defense. I'm going to take one look back over here as well. We got to limit Ramondre because Ramondre is part of the problem, not part of the solution. So the second thing we're going to do is put a little limit on Ramondre. And again, I don't want to go crazy with my limit because he was a core play for me. So I'm just going to set him to 50%. We're not going to cheat and set him to 0 or remove a guy who we would have been all over. We'll send him 50%. Now let's give it another run. So all I just did was I raised up Patriots defense a little bit, and I set a limit on Ramondre. I did not adjust anybody else. I just set a max limit on Ramondre. And let's see what happens now. Still hitting the 237. Yeah, I'm getting a little more. Now we're getting a little more Joe Mixon, which is what we want. Need a little more Kenny Walker. So I'm going to raise that a little bit. And let's see if we got our defense that we wanted. No. So even at 10.9, you know what we have to do here? I'm going to raise it, but we got to force some Patriots defense if we're going to have any chance of really getting it to use them. So there we go. I'm going to force Patriots defense in 25% of the lineups, just again to make sure, because that was the nuts defense play. Christian Kirk I always liked. Yeah, it's Ramondre, Kenny Walker, Cole Kmet, Patriots defense. So I don't know. I feel like we should be pretty close to on track here. Again, nope. Tyreek Hill, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet. Now, who are the other players here? Who is this? Oh, I'm getting these other crappy. So the problem, yeah, you got to allow more of this. You got to allow more, or else I just start getting these garbage Wescos and Ryan Griffins, who I don't want. So we got to get rid of that without doing a player pool. The other thing is N'Keal Harry. Ugh. Yeah. Dante Pettis. Wow, Dante Pettis projected. Ugh, horrible projections. I'm telling you, man, more power to that guy for doing a Fields +2. That's a pretty wild. That's a pretty wild stack to want to be using. One guy that I'm not getting enough exposure to here is Christian Kirk. So I'm going to smash a love. I actually liked him in the main slate as well. Patriots, Kirk. Yeah. Well, with a smashing a love on Christian Kirk, let's see if that gets us there. This is still not doing it for me. So what I'm going to do is force Patriots in all of them. Yeah, there it is. 268.12. So this was not an easy one to achieve at all. Let's see what lessons we could take from it. So in the case of week 9, you needed a Fields with 2 of lineup. Now, again, I don't think I would have forced this, and I don't think I'm going to recommend forcing that going forward, because Cole Kmet is not going to smash like frequently. It's just not happening. Now, if I was handcrafting and I was just like Fields, and I was already stacking Mooney with Fields in most lineups anyway, right? Would I have just clicked the Kmet button because it's like, I didn't like any of the tight ends anyway. Tight end was really weird this week. Would I have done it? I don't know. It's funny that this is a Ramondre lineup, because I would think an ETN version, yeah, like something like this would have been more. Okay. So this is the second version of it. So in this one, instead of Christian Kirk, You got, instead of Ramondre and Christian Kirk, you've got, well, it has Ramondre in it also. But this one went ETN instead of Walker. It went ETN. That's why it didn't work. Isn't it funny? This could actually be a second nuts. But so we achieved a 266 and a 268.12. Let's just take a look here. 268.12. That's this. We actually hit a 266. Would have been a solo second place. No one hit that score, which is pretty interesting on its own. Note that both of these lineups, like the 268, this one hit 50K, where the other one 49.7. The other thing is the total ownership 104.68 on projected ownership. Of course, the projection on Justin Fields was pretty wildly off. We love Justin Fields as a play, but wow, he wound up being the chalk, and yeah, that was a big miss. But as far as this lineup goes, this would have taken down the Milly Maker, Fields, Mooney, Kmet, come back with Tyreek Hill. Again, the crazy thing is spending all the way up for a defense, which Kenneth Walker was in the list. He was on our playlist. Christian Kirk was on the sheet. So the only player here that really wasn't on my Geeks Pick sheet this week, which you could see here, we could just go through it and you'll see that, of course, we had Justin Fields as a, 4-star play, one of our favorite plays on the slate. The only one I had marked above him was Josh Allen and Tua, similar. So I had those 3 plays as my 4-star quarterbacks. Austin Eckler right there. You see Aaron Jones let us down, but we had Joe Mixon, Travis Etienne core, Ramondre Stevenson core. So we were all over that group of running backs. And then, we got on Christian Kirk late in the week. Darnell Mooney was always in play, Joshua Palmer. So the only real player that was from that nuts lineup that I did not put on my sheet and didn't have in my player pool was really Cole Kmet. So I guess the lesson for me is, as long as that player, Noah Fant also had a really big game connected with Geno, right? So the lesson I'm going to go with for this week is, number one, let's continue to up the correlative stacks that we're putting together. Let's continue to maybe look at, even with a running QB, consider 2 of their pass catching options rather than just one. Normally, I only stack Fields with 1 or none, and I only stack like a Josh Allen with 1, but there is some merit to doing those with 2. And I think the other lesson that's really important is, again, continue to limit total projected ownership. This one was 104. The second nuts was 118. So we want to probably stick at worst with below 120 as our high point. If we look at these lineups we just made, let's see. Yeah, so 129 was the highest. Then we're at 118, 115. But of course, yeah, so we probably could easily have limited this to 110 and probably gotten closer to that nuts lineup with fewer lineups. I think the third lesson here is you can embrace the chalk as long as you've got 1 or 2 spots that are super unique. And the fourth thing being, of course, and this is the big one, don't be afraid to pay up on defense in a GPP lineup. In cash games, no, we want to pay down. It's really unpredictable. But in GPP, it makes your lineup look a little different from everybody else's, and it helps you sometimes take down a tournament. So that's going to do it for the NFL Week 9 Week in Review. You saw we were able to replicate. Listen, last week we only hit 1 button. We hit the Milly Maker. I was using my settings. This week, I put 3 lineups in the top 100 of the GPP that I entered, but I did not get a top 10 finish. So obviously you needed Cole Kmet and you needed Patriots defense, and I just wasn't there. I was, I just didn't have those. But it was a great week overall for me in terms of my handcrafts, in terms of just cashing a lot. We used so much Fields to Mooney, so much Tua with 2 of, which was also really good. So really across the board, a good week. We loaded up on the running backs, Mixon, Eckler, Ramondre, and Etienne 100%. So all of them did fairly well. And a great overall week 9. I'm ready to move on. Of course, we've still got a showdown Monday Night Football. If you're watching this on Monday daytime, coming up, and we will be covering that and one last shot to take a tournament down in NFL Week 9 and onward and upward, baby. Let's do it, guys. Good luck this week, everyone, and thanks for watching. Remember to hit like, subscribe, notification bell, and if you want to sign up at DFS Army, promo code GEEK gets you 10% off.